Hello, how are you? Today we are interviewing a wonderful man called Craig Studnicky. He knows everything that is going on with Miami, with Broward. He does the Miami report every single year. So, hello, Craig.
Hello, Sarita.
How
Yes,
are
I
you?
do. I actually do it 4 times a year.
Right.
So when it comes to residential real estate, I'm your guy.
I know
Almost
that.
anything else, I'm not your guy.
I know that. I know that. Let me introduce you, my friends. They're with me today.
Hi, I'm Natalie Bavegni, real estate agent here with EXP.
Carmen Ramirez, also real estate agent with EXP.
Hi, I'm Jessica Pardo, also with EXP Realty.
As
And by the
all
way,
of them?
congratulations.
Sarita.
And Sarita.
And I'm
Congratulations.
Sarita Bergson, and I'm also with EXP.
Yes.
But today we want you to explain us a little bit about the Q1 of 2025.
Yes.
And after you explain a little bit, we would like to ask you a few questions if it's okay with you.
Of course, of course. We just completed Q1. I had to start filming the Miami reports on YouTube because of social distancing issues because of what happened in 2020. So, and then things were, I used to just do it annually, just once a year from 2009 right through 2019. We did one Miami report every year. But when 2020 happened, everything was changing like rapidly. So if I produced my report in 3 months, it's antiquated. So we decided, well, heck with it. Let's just do it at the end of every business quarter. This particular one got a little challenging. Right around October of last year, the real estate market around the United States slowed down. Real estate transactions, residential transactions, and South Florida is part of the United States. It due mostly to higher mortgage rates and the uncertainty of who was going to win the general election. Was it going to be Kamala Harris? Was it going to be Donald Trump? Even a couple of days before, the day before the general election, it looked like it was 50-50. These polls always look like that. Well, the boy won. Donald Trump won. And then got conversations about things like tariffs started popping up, and it didn't do much, which is probably going to be a great victory in some fashion for the United States on a world stage anyway. It'll just make export and import business more fair. But it didn't do much to turn the real estate market around right away. And then came all of these experts, mostly journalists that don't sell real estate, reporting on older condos that might be going down in value. And to some extent, they got a point because there's these new milestone laws in South Florida, which have, well, the state of Florida rather, which have affected 30, 40, and 50-year-old condos and has decreased the value of some of those buildings. So they had a point there, but they don't know anything about single-family houses. These journalists don't know anything about the younger condos, and they sure as hell don't know anything about how the population of South Florida has been accelerating in the last few years, which eats up all the supply we ever get. So it took me a little bit of time on this one. Normally at the end, like 2 weeks after a business quarter, we filmed the Miami report. This was a month because I had to unscramble, defrag a lot of really bad and stupid information out there that's misleading a lot of people about the health and welfare of the residential market here in South Florida. So we just finished it, and I was telling Daniela Andretti, she's the director of marketing of my company, ISG, and Athena Rosano, she's my co-writer of the Miami report. This has been the most successful Miami report we've ever produced.
Wonderful woman, by the way.
But terrific, phenomenal research. But I think we did a pretty decent job of explaining the facts to everybody. Don't get caught up in these headlines. When you age the single-family home inventory or condominium inventory, you get a much clearer picture about what's really happening here in South Florida. So we published it last Thursday. Today is Monday. And already, it's amazing how many thousands of people.
Yeah, how many views have you had?
Over 3,000. That's a lot.
I wonder why.
Particularly over a weekend. Usually they pop on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, normal business days.
Right.
But this weekend it popped. Yeah.
Well, I hope the people finally see that real estate is local. You
Yes.
have to get the facts right locally.
100%. And South Florida has always been, for 20, 30 years, has always been kind of an outlier when you compare it to the residential real estate trends in the United States. We outperform.
Yep.
We always outperform for one reason. People keep coming here.
Yep.
It's the demand curve. That's the engine that makes this whole thing work.
And that's the biggest mistake because people listen to the news and they compare South Florida with the rest of the world. I mean, we're different.
We're different. We've always been the gateway to Latin America. Carmen, I'm down in Bogota, Colombia, maybe 20 years ago, and some real estate broker down there said, "Hey, Craigcito." Yeah. Craigcito. You know what the best thing is about Miami? I can tell this was a joke, so I played a little dumb. I said, "No, what's the best thing about Miami? It's so close to the United States."
Oh, that's right. Because in South America, a lot of people, they think that Miami is the capital of Florida,
Yeah.
or like
Oh, they do?
Florida. Yes,
It's a
or
part
Florida
of-
is
it has-
like the main state. It's like probably like the only state in the United
Oh,
States.
really? Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
they see, like, when they come here to Florida, because I have family from Colombia, and they
Okay.
come here and they think Miami, it's like, oh, we didn't know that you have other counties,
Oh my God.
within Florida. So it's,
That's funny that you say
Miami.
that, Jessica, because even in my memory report, I try to explain South Florida is what we call Palm Beach County, Broward County, where Hollywood is,
Yeah.
and then Miami-Dade
Miami,
County.
yeah.
That's what we call South Florida. I didn't know, and now I'm realizing I gave a lot of Latin families a benefit of understanding. Yeah,
Yeah.
just South Florida is divided by 3 counties.
Absolutely.
But Florida, it's funny that they think Florida's it's like
Yeah.
it's like Oz, right?
A
You
lot
know?
of people say also that the Florida is the northern country from South America.
Yeah, that's what. No, when they said it's so close to the U.S., I laughed. I mean, I give one of those laugh out loud things because I understand there's more Espanol spoken in Miami than there is English,
Yes.
and I do kind of and it's become truly a wonderful
When are
melting pot.
When are you finally going to learn Spanish then?
Estoy aprendiendo un poquito.
Good.
Estoy
Sí,
viviendo
muy
aquí
bien.
8 años.
Good job.
Aquí los citamos.
Sí, especialmente hoy es 5 de
Hoy es
mayo.
5 de mayo.
So if you serve me a tequila, I'm fluent.
You'll be
fluent
fluent.
en español. Oh, sí. And for a gringo, yo puedo bailar también. And that's the end of my Espanol. Without tequila. Yeah.
Going on your report that you so eloquently put together, what would you say the current inventory pipeline, including the pre-constructions that are coming available now, 2025 and 2026, how is that going to affect the absorption rate for the buyers in 2025 and 26?
The absorption rate will not be affected because we still have so many people moving here. So let's divide the inventory into like 3 different categories. Standing has 2, and pre-construction is pre-construction.
Right.
The 2 categories of standing inventory is governed by age. You're either over 30 years of age or you're less than 30 years of age. If you're less than 30 years of age, there's only like, it's hard for me to even say this, but I've done the math 1,000 times. There's 3,000 condos currently for sale in standing inventory that are less than 30 years old.
Right.
Most of those are in Miami-Dade County, hardly anything here in Broward County, here in Hollywood, hardly anything in Palm Beach County. There should be 20,000. Normally there's 20,000 condos for people all over the world, most of the US obviously, to choose from. No, you have 3,000. So it's absolutely a seller's market still with the younger condos. With the older condos, 30, 40, 50 years old, you got a lot to choose from, but nobody's buying that right now.
No.
The fear of special assessments keeps mortgage lenders and individual homeowners away from that. So, Natalie, you don't have enough standing inventory to even survive 6 months. Pre-construction. Well, we need to build, and I've done this math a lot, we need to build close to 20,000 condos every 10 years to accommodate the population growth in South Florida. Doesn't include second home sales. Jessica, it doesn't include investor sales. That's the amount of condos we need to build to put a roof over the heads of the people who are moving here with a husband, with a wife, with kids, with a dog and a cat that are part of these 200 plus companies that are moving here. And they're like us. They now live here. This is their new home. If they came from New York, they have to switch their allegiance from New York sports teams to Miami sports teams. And it doesn't happen overnight, but it happens because they're living here. The stuff that is what we call pre-construction, the thing there's only 7,000 out of 14,000 that are being promoted that are actually going vertical. They're actually under construction. And they take a while because we're not building 20-story condos anymore. We're going 40, 50, up the famous Waldorf Astoria in downtown Miami,
Right.
100 stories. And for people that don't know what that means,
It's a lot.
the Freedom Tower in Lower Manhattan, which took the place of the World Trade Center, is 104 stories. And when you fly in to either Newark International, LaGuardia, or JFK, and you peer outside your airplane window, you see that ridiculous, wonderful, magnificent tower that we call the Freedom Tower. That's Waldorf Astoria in downtown Miami. But it takes a while to complete these projects. It takes just to build it takes almost 5 years. So, Natalie, we may have 7,000 units under construction, But based on my math, 2027, 2028, 2029 is when you can
A
expect.
long way away.
Well, this is 2025. So what do we do between now and then?
Right.
Now I expect that the condos and the houses that are currently on the market in this higher mortgage environment are going to continue to sell well.
Mhm.
When mortgage rates come down, and they're coming down, whether it's the second half of this year or 2026, well then watch what happens with prices,
The
because
prices are
They're
that's
gonna go up.
they're going to go
Yeah.
up very fast.
Mhm.
It is kind of I've been selling real estate for 45 years, and I sort of understand why the rebound with the high end here has happened. See, wealthy people, the high end market, whether it's I'm talking about condos north of $5, $10, $20 million, talking about houses the same, they're flying.
Yeah.
We sold more high end condos and high end houses in Jan, February, March this year than we ever did in the history of South Florida, and especially in the last 15 years since I've been tracking the Miami report. It really surprised me. And when I talked to some of these buyers, like, why now? Well, number one, they know that the market slowed down. So they always like to buy on the low side. Makes sense. But they also saw a correction coming even before the tariff word came on the street, and they wanted to shift some of their liquid assets into what we call hard assets. Real estate is a perfect example of a hard asset that also appreciates in value. A car and a boat are hard assets, but they don't do so well on the appreciation side.
no, they go
They
the other way.
They go the other
As soon as you come out of the dealer,
That's
As
it.
soon as you put the boat in the
$10,000,
water,
it's
there you go.
$10,000
It's over,
less.
exactly. But your house,
it's
your
always.
condo,
Mhm.
I'm talking about like a traditional condo with rental restrictions. Oh no, those inch up nicely. You know, in 30 years, I did the math. A traditional condo with rental restrictions appreciated by 10% per year in Miami and in Miami-Dade County, Fort Lauderdale, Broward. Palm Beach probably even a little bit more. The average house went up 21%
Yeah,
per year.
absolutely.
Yes.
So switching liquid assets, so you're wealthy. I think it's a good time to
Yes,
switch
yes.
liquid assets to hard assets. They have access to information that we mere mortals don't have. And it's fascinating to me that so many of them have decided to trounce on South Florida now, and Jan, Feb, March, and it continued into April. High-end real estate is selling at a record velocity right now. And that's one of the points I tried to make in the Miami report as well, because it's always the wealthy that lead us out of a slowdown, and then it trickles down to the rest of the market.
You have questions,
Okay,
ladies?
I'll go ahead and ask her question. You've seen the Miami market through several cycles. What's one constant truth about the city's real estate the buyers should always remember?
Well, location always matters. You know, Jess, I it's not just South Florida. It's something I've learned about real estate. I kind of refer to real estate in the feminine gender. She's very stubborn. She just is. I have a twin sister and I have a daughter, so I think that gives me the right to refer to it that way. I think hopefully it does, or the privilege to do it that way. She's very location dependent. And since COVID, you know, most of the people that are buying real estate are from the U.S. and they want to see water. They want to see ocean. They want to see intercoastal. They want to see bay. They prefer to be on it, but if they can't be on it, they want to at least be able to see it. Ask anybody in the United States that's not living here. Close your eyes and picture Miami and describe it to me. I promise you, those blue turquoise waters
Yes,
They see
are one of
100%.
the
They
first
see
things
water.
that pop in their
Yes.
mind, and their blood pressure drops. They start to feel right. I mean, because
Yeah.
every time you're anywhere near
It's
the ocean or the
relaxing.
intercoastal, it's so relaxing. I
So
know.
relaxing.
And that's their vision. So,
Palm
and that
trees.
is another constant, which ties right back to location. When I look at the value of oceanfront condos, particularly the younger stuff, oh my Lord, it is. I mean, before COVID, if you said, I know somebody bought a $5 million condo on the beach, you'd be like, who the hell did that? That's crazy. Yeah, that's nothing today. You're seeing 20, 25, 30, $35 million condo trades on the beach for the one simple reason that the buildings are in good shape and they're well located. So two reasons. That one. Secondly, they get to look at the ocean every day, and I know what that's like because I'm lucky enough to live on the ocean, and every day the ocean's different. Sometimes, I mean, seriously, sometimes the current's coming from the south, sometimes it's coming from the north, sometimes it's low tide, sometimes it's high tide, sometimes it's as calm as a lake, and sometimes it's as angry as a hurricane is coming.
Which is funny because in your real estate report, in your Miami report, you related the market as a low tide and
Low
high
tide and
tide.
high tide, yes.
So what a great reminder.
Well, because real estate's highly cyclical, and you get reminded of cycles every day if you
Yeah,
live near the ocean.
absolutely. Yeah.
Every single day. And real estate is like that. And the other funny thing about that, though, but I don't know how this works, but buyers all over the world, they talk to each other. They all decide
From one
to
country to
stop
another.
buying at the same time. And you start thinking
Yes.
something's
What's
wrong with
going
me.
on?
I need a new social media expert. There's something wrong with my website. Maybe I need to get a new hairdo. I mean, God knows what the thoughts that go through people's minds. It's not you. For some reason, they all talk to each other. Now, if you flip the coin, I don't know how this works, but somehow all the buyers in the world talk to each other and start rebuying at the same time. One day, and I think it's right around the corner for all of us, just based on some of the tea leaves I'm seeing in Jan, February, March of this year, your phone's going to be ringing off the hook. Buyers are just going to start buying again. And some of it could be because it's the same rationale that the wealthy have chosen. They see the market, they've heard the market's a little bit slow. If you're going to buy, now's the time to do it. Buy when the market is,
It's low.
you can't totally time it when it's going to hit the bottom of the curve, but everyone kind of agrees that it's starting to pick up again. Mortgage rates notwithstanding, who knows what's going to happen with mortgage rates? Are they going to remain? I think they're going to remain kind of stubborn for the next 3 to 6 months. I just do. But then by the second half of the year, who the hell knows? If Trump gets his way and he convinces Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed, to start buying back mortgage-backed securities, then you will put a lot of liquidity into the mortgage market, which will cause rates to drop, and then you're going to realize we have a shortage of inventory to sell.
And he's a businessman, so he's going to do it.
You know,
For sure.
He's trying. God knows he is trying.
I
Yes.
know.
Yes.
Carmen.
Yeah, how would you compare the Miami versus Broward and Palm Beach, the market? Because we know Miami is running out of space, so we know that, and now people are starting like hitting more north. How do you see the future?
It's part of the reason I'm in Hollywood. I've been here for 32 years. I've sold 115 condominium developments. At least half of them, were in Miami. Yeah, I love Miami, but it did get very crowded, and it got very expensive since COVID. A lot of the people that we're selling to here in Hollywood live and work in Miami. They're coming just 12 miles north. I mean, you can see downtown Miami from here, but it's far less congested in the Hollywood area. No, and that's not going to it's not going to get any easier in Miami for this reason. There are 133 condominium developments that are in development since COVID. Half of those buildings are in what I call the downtown Miami core. That includes Brickell Avenue, downtown Miami, Edgewater, Wynwood, and Midtown. Half of 133 are being developed in the downtown core. Now, one side of that would say, oh my God, the traffic's already rough. What are you going to do when all these buildings get built?
That's
oh my God.
God.
But if you look at it from an architectural perspective, we are going to be the envy of the world. That skyline is going to be, it already is breathtakingly beautiful. But you give it 5 years, it's going to be oh my God, this is Miami. And that will trickle up to some of these transforming neighborhoods like Hollywood. The bet I'm making, I'm already seeing it. It's not that hard of a bet to make. The price rises that you're seeing in Miami are affecting Broward. But now Broward is a bargain compared to what is happening in Miami.
For now.
For
now.
Oh, nothing remains the same. Nothing.
Talking about the skyline. The skyline of Fort Lauderdale and Hollywood,
it's also changing.
It's all
You can
changing.
change.
And it's wonderful. It's sometimes if you really don't know the real estate as we all do, if you see it, you don't know if it's here or there.
Yeah. Listen, I've heard a lot of, I'll say demographers forecast that one day they see Miami and Fort Lauderdale becoming one. That's probably not in my real estate career, but I can see it happening. It's like I just was in New York this past weekend. When I was flying out, I was looking at my airplane window. I was looking at Brooklyn. Like, my God, there are so many high-rise office buildings. I mean, magnificent-looking buildings in Brooklyn. They weren't there 20 years ago. Could you see? But for the Hudson River and the Brooklyn Bridge, you could see Brooklyn and Manhattan melding into one another. You kind of could.
Yes, they do.
And they kind of do. Yeah.
We're talking a lot about buyers, but I want to ask you a question about sellers in this market.
Mm-hmm.
What type of properties are currently selling the fast in today's market?
Houses,
single-family homes.
Yep.
And what pricing strategies do you recommend for sellers who wanted to close quickly without sacrificing value in this competitive market?
Well, there's three types of houses.
Mhm.
It's a bit of a Sesame Street kind of definition,
Yeah.
the way I've defined them, because it's the easiest way for me to explain it. The A house is
Mhm.
something on the water, probably built in the last 15 years. On the water, it's either ocean, intracoastal, or bay.
Mhm.
To sell those properties, you don't have to do anything except price it right. Because we have 300 of those in the Tri-County area when we should have had a couple thousand. We don't have enough of that. The B house is just like the A, it's just not on the water. And there's
Okay.
like 2,400 of those. Again, you don't have to do very much, especially if that B house is anywhere close to a school. You're in the
A
driver's
good
seat.
school.
Yes.
Mhm.
The C houses need a little work. It's more than just styling the inside of the house. You need landscaping. There's a lot of that inventory now for sale, which is a very good thing because most of the people who are moving here with these Fortune 400 and Fortune 500 companies are young people. They have families and they want to buy a house near a soccer field and or a decent high school.
Mhm.
And we've gotten blessed, in my opinion, with a lot more of that inventory in the last year or so. From where? Empty nesters that want to sell their houses now and move east into a condo. They're not leaving Florida. They're leaving the house.
Yeah.
And the swimming pool and the roof and the yard and the maintenance that's required when you live in a house.
We were the other day in one of the buildings in Fort Lauderdale in the sales center, and they were saying that a lot of people from Weston, where I live, it's moving to Fort Lauderdale, empty nesters, because they want to have, the same type of lifestyle. Even sometimes, depending on the people, even better because they can walk everywhere.
Yeah.
Weston, you need a car,
Mhm.
but that's what's going on. People want
Yeah.
to go.
They're baby boomers that are, in
I
their
wonder what. I
late
wonder.
50s, mid 70s, late 70s.
I don't know who they are
I,
at all. I have no idea.
I've heard rumors, but I'm not. I could be wrong, so I'm
I
not
think
going to
they're
drop
looking for a
names.
more simple life, which
Exactly.
brings me to my next question: is what do you think about the areas that are being built, like these mini cities, like Mini Doral and Fort Lauderdale, Flagler Village,
Yeah.
even right here
Even
where
right here
Cirque is,
in
the
Hollywood.
walkability.
Dania Beach also is.
They have the grocery store right downstairs, the accessibility.
Doral is funny that you mentioned Doral because it got so congested. I mean,
Yeah.
just so congested. I love
A lot of
Doral.
great restaurants.
A lot of great restaurants. Donald Trump's got he bought Doral, and some of the best golf in South Florida is at Doral. I mean, he transformed that into truly a world-class golf facility again. It's just the issue I hear about Doral is just the same issue I hear about Miami. It's so crowded. Fort Lauderdale doesn't have the density of Miami, so
Mhm.
it's a city like Miami, but it doesn't quite have that dense feel. So if you can get a Miami buyer to embrace the Fort Lauderdale personality, because they're different,
Mhm.
right?
Completely.
Yes.
We live here now. You know what it's like when Miami is buzzing all the time. It's like a mini Manhattan with really nice weather. Fort Lauderdale appears to be more laid back. It's
For
definitely
now.
For now, it's definitely more American. Yeah, but or the pace of life there and the personality of the people who live there is just a little bit different from Miami. What's the attraction? It's just not as congested, and it has all of this infrastructure amenities that a city like Miami has. Cities like Hollywood, see, this is like the home of the donut. We're like little hidden gems between these two big cities. So you get to live here and not feel the congestion like at all, except you're 7 miles from Fort Lauderdale Airport and you are 12 miles from Miami International Airport. So you're not quite smack in the middle, but close enough where life here is easy, very easy. So, and Dania as well. Dania will be the next frontier. Dania was the very first town incorporated in Broward County. Isn't that funny? And it's like the last that's been rediscovered because everyone kind of overlooked Dania for the longest time. We're talking about uncrowded. Oh my God.
But it has a lot of great things coming to it too.
Yes,
a lot
they
of
do.
people don't know about.
Very true.
Right.
Especially Dania Point. It started, Dania Point might have been the engine that got everybody talking about Dania again.
Yeah.
It used to have boomers, that old, that wooden roller coaster ride. I took my kids on there when they were super little.
Yes.
But now,
they took, the hotels that were there. They did a wonderful mall,
oh my God.
strip mall, and then started to.
There's a couple of rental buildings in
Yes.
Dania Point. If you live there, that's
Yes.
all inclusive. You don't have to go anywhere. Everything that you could possibly need
You walk
is in
everywhere.
Dania Point.
You have offices there. You can live there. You
Yeah.
have everything downstairs.
Movie theaters, great restaurants.
Yes.
Everything is there. So yeah, these little pockets of uncongested neighborhoods between these major cities, Miami particularly, and now Fort Lauderdale, they're nice opportunities.
Ladies, do you have another question?
Sure, I'll ask
Okay.
another question, Craig.
So, yeah,
That's correct.
Okay, so we often hear that the timing the market is nearly impossible. Based on Q1 trends, what signs should buyers or sellers look for to make smart moves in 2025?
Yeah, predicting cycle turns is almost like predicting what you're going to dream about tonight. Okay, pretty much close to impossible.
Right.
But what you can do is study the data and watch when things are starting to turn, and that's what I try to reveal in Q1. The record-setting number of velocity of just transactions, both in condos and single-family homes in Q1, shocked me because because I know how nervous everybody is about the world at the moment. But no, the wealthy have jump-started it here in South Florida, and I can assure you, Jess, this is now. I'm in my late 60s. I've been selling real estate for over 45 years. This is how new cycles always begin. They always begin with the wealthy busting moves when nobody else was. They buy beautiful real estate for undervalued, and they jump, and then it trickles down to the rest of it. I totally understand why some of your clients are waiting. It's the wrong strategy if you want to buy property right. That the time to buy is when no one appears to be buying. The time to be sell is when everybody appears to be buying.
I think that brings us
Yeah.
into like
Yeah.
in 2020 during the pandemic, a lot of people were not buying, but they
That's right.
missed out on the great opportunity of having a great low interest rates. I mean, as low as 2%, 2.7%. So while other people are hesitant, are worried, and because of the media installs so much fear, we're kind of like, waiting, but really the time is right whenever you're ready.
You know what I've noticed, Jess? Sometimes people get tired of the media
Mhm.
pounding all this negative news, and then one day you wake up and you say,
Yep.
"You know what?
Enough.
The hell with them. I'm going to live my life because I'm not going to get a second chance at this." You know?
Mhm.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, unless you're a Buddhist, you're not getting a second chance at this.
I want to ask you something, talking about selling at the right moment. How much influence international buyers and buyers
Yeah.
have in local sellers, not only international, but out of Florida, out of state, in the negotiation power?
Well, they add to the demand curve. If you're a seller of a house or a condo in a really nice neighborhood, you got multiple buyers now. Now in 2020, you're talking about 2020 and even 2021,
2020.
because of social distancing and flight restrictions into the United States all over COVID, the Latin market kind of disappeared. We were relying on the U.S. market. We had enough of that. But then 2022 came, and then 23, and then 24. Half of my sales last year were from Latin America. Latin America is totally back. And that's despite the obnoxious gap between the US dollar and most of those currencies. The exchange rate's really, really high.
It's because of the politics down there.
100%.
It's never something secure. Unfortunately for us, but it's nothing secure in South America.
No,
So they
no.
know that eventually here you can go a little bit up, a little bit down, but it's there.
Yes.
Something secure.
Owning property here.
You know,
yes.
I lived the 2008 in the market, and I lived the other one a few years ago. So I know what I'm talking. It's there.
It
People
is.
trust the United States.
At the end of the day, yeah, we are, I guess, particularly when it comes to real estate, because real estate always comes with a bundle of rights, particularly here in South Florida, a bundle of rights. You own property, and it's very difficult for anybody to mess with your property in the U.S. In Florida, you can homestead it. Now, it doesn't work for second home buyers. If you live in California and you bought a second home, it doesn't work for you. If you live in Venezuela, Bogota, Colombia, Buenos Aires, Argentina, and you bought a second home, it doesn't work for you. But if you live here permanently and you homestead your home, in the state of Florida, no one can ever, ever, ever take your property away from you or your family. And that's kind of important if you're in any kind of a financial mess. We talked about cycles. Not every wealthy person had a smooth ride. They had up cycles, they had down cycles, and the homestead thing matters to them because they might be in good shape now, but they pay cash for their house or their condo. We have a lot of cash sales. A lot of cash
know,
sales in
a
South
lot.
Florida.
Yes.
I mean, real cash, not
Mhm.
a mortgage from some company in Colorado. No, it's actual
They
real
come-
cash.
They
No,
come
and
with a
that's-
suitcase.
Well,
there.
yeah. Before 9/11, they did.
It
Before
did.
9/11, they did.
I
After
got-
9/11, no.
In that time, it's true. We asked for proof of
Of
funds, and we got a photocopy of all the $100 bills
Yeah.
with a different number. It was crazy by
Different
then.
way of proof of funds.
But
But
that's one of the things that's different from 208, because we do have some of those clients who are worried that this is going to be another crash. No.
But their criteria, Natalie, their criteria is not, respectfully, it's not well thought through. In 08, we had too much inventory.
That's right.
And we called it, the bubble's going to burst, the bubble's going to burst, and the bubble did burst.
Mhm.
We not only built too much, and we what did I just tell you? There's 6,000 condos under construction out of 14,000 condos that are being developed right now. In the 2000s, it was 59,000. That was not. That was
And they kept building.
and they just kept building.
They
and
kept
building.
building.
It was way too much over speculation. And when by 07, when journalists, real estate journalists, and real estate brokers were saying there's a bubble that's about to burst, they were referring to inventory, and they were right.
Yeah.
This one, when I hear bubble, now they're kind of talking about prices are getting a little extreme.
Inflated, yeah.
But the wealthy keep coming here.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
last year, close to 60% of all real estate transactions in South Florida were cash. So you could say we're overpriced, but these Americans that are coming here,
And they're buying.
they're buying and they're paying cash, which that kind of goes back to the homestead exemption thing. It tells me they're setting themselves up for asset protection for actually a nice retirement life with no headaches whatsoever. What a lovely idea. You could do that here in Florida.
Well,
Greg,
yeah.
we really want to thank you.
Sarita, you're
For
more than
being so
welcome. All of
kind.
you ladies. It's very nice
You
to
know,
be here with
it's
all of
lovely to talk to you and to capture all your knowledge. And it's nice for our clientele to hear a little bit more about what he can tell you and what we have to ask and learn about.
you. Can I leave you with this one thought?
You can
And-
leave whatever you
well,
want.
no, this is something I got from a former mentor of mine who passed away about 12 years ago. His name was Tom Daly. And he always said, whenever there's a national slowdown in residential sales, Florida is usually the last state to go into the slowdown and the first one to pop out.
True.
And this is like a lesson he taught me like 20, 25 years ago. And I said, geez, Tom, why is that? Because of the population. People just keep coming. Second home buyers, investors from Latin America, they need to keep coming because they'd rather have their money parked in U.S. real estate than leaving it in the banks with the crazy politics down there. Now Americans are coming here because the weather's so nice. But now Americans are coming here because, you know, what used to be Fun City is now becoming Finance City. The two financial capitals of the world are still regarded as London and New York, but there's a lot of serious conversation going on in Wall Street. It's time to open up a third world market, and it will more than likely be Miami. So it's not
Absolutely.
just Fun City anymore. It's not just the numbers of people who are moving here; it's the profile of the people.
Right.
And they're moving in such big numbers that they're bringing Miami out of whatever slowdown we were in. Tom Daly, my mentor, was right. We're the last to go in. We're the first to pop out. And guys, please, if you take away anything from the Q1 report, we're popping out. It's time to re-enter the parade because it's on. The game is on again.
For sure.
Carmen, Natalie, Jessica, and for sure, Craig,
And-
thank you
and Craig
so
Cito,
much.
you're
Craig
welcome.
Cito, Craig Cito. No, thank you so much. And for sure, it's the first one that we do with you, the first interview that we all do with you. It's not going to be the last.
This looks like we could call it the real estate view. you
Yeah.
know?
Wait for the next. Okay, he said it. Wait for the
Well,
next
why not?
for the next real estate view with Craig Studnicky. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.